The war had ended after many years of fighting. Earth and the colonies had defeated the alien race known as the Therari. These aliens were tall, with smooth skin that shimmered in different colors. Their eyes were bright, and their technology was far ahead of humans. But even with their machines, they could not win against the heart and will of humankind. The people of Earth were tired. Cities had been destroyed, families lost, and whole planets damaged. But in the end, the humans stood strong. Victory was theirs. Tom was a simple man. He came from a farming colony on Mars. He had joined the war not for glory, but to protect his home. He was not the strongest or fastest soldier, but he had something special. He thought before he acted. He helped his team survive by finding smart ways to escape traps and turning enemy weapons against them. In the final battle, Tom had saved his squad from a Therari ambush. He had used a damaged alien ship as cover and led his team to safety. Because of this, he was called a hero. He did not like the title. He said anyone would have done the same. But the leaders of the colony decided to reward him. Tom received medals, land, and machines for farming. But one reward was strange. The soldiers brought him a captive. It was a Therari woman. Her hands were tied, and she wore a silver collar that blinked with small lights. "This is yours," the officer said. "A gift for your service." She was taken from one of their command ships. "High rank, maybe a pilot. We thought you liked something special." Tom looked at the alien woman. She was tall, with smooth purple skin and silver hair. Her eyes, large and glowing, showed no fear. She stood straight, even with her hands tied. Tom frowned. "What am I supposed to do with her?" "She's yours. Do what you want. Use her for work, or keep her for company. Just make sure she doesn't run." The officer laughed and left. Tom watched her for a moment. She stared back. Her face showed nothing, but her eyes held fire. Tom didn't know her name, but he saw that she was not just some object. She was a person. He turned and said, "Come with me. I don't believe in chains." He took her to his small house, far from the colony's center. The house sat near the red hills of Mars. Dust blew in the wind, and silence filled the air. It was peaceful but lonely. Inside the house, Tom pointed to a chair. The Therari woman sat without a word. She looked around, then back at him. Tom brought her food and water. She did not eat. She sat still, watching every move he made. Tom did not force her. He sat across the room, drinking tea and reading a small book. Time passed. The sky outside turned dark. The stars above Mars shine like sharp stones in the sky. Tom stood and walked toward her. Slowly, he reached for the collar. The lights blinked as he touched it. She pulled back, but he held up his hands. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. He opened a small box and took out a tool. With care, he worked on the collar. After a few minutes, there was a soft click. The collar opened and fell to the ground. She looked at him. Confused, "You're free," Tom said. "You can leave if you want. I didn't ask for you. I don't want someone to live here against their will." The Therari woman stayed silent. She did not run. She did not speak. She only stared. Tom nodded and walked back to his chair. He picked up his book again. That night, she did not sleep. She sat near the window, watching the stars. Tom rested in his room, leaving the door open in case she wanted to leave. But when the sun rose again over the red hills, she was still there. She had stayed, not because she was tied, not because she was forced, but because something inside her wanted to understand this strange man who had given her freedom instead of fear. The morning sun rose slowly over the red hills of Mars. Soft light fell through the dusty window of Tom's house. Inside, the Therari woman still sat near the window, her silver hair catching the sunlight. She had not moved much during the night. Tom walked into the room, holding two metal cups. One had tea, the other had clean water. He placed both on the table and sat across from her. "You didn't leave," Tom said gently. The woman looked at him but said nothing. "I meant what I said. You are free now. You don't belong to me or anyone else." Still, she stayed quiet. Tom picked up his tea and took a sip. He didn't push her to speak. He had seen too much during the war to expect trust so quickly. He only wanted her to feel safe. Hours passed. Tom cleaned tools in the shed. He worked on his small farming machines. The woman watched from a distance. She did not speak, but her eyes followed everything. She noticed how he moved, how careful he was with broken parts. He worked with care, not forced. In the afternoon, Tom cooked simple food and placed a plate near her. She didn't touch it at first, but later, when he turned away, she took a small bite. Her face showed no emotion, but she ate everything. That evening, Tom walked outside and looked up at the sky. Two moons slowly climbed above the hills. The air was quiet. Mars was a hard place, but it had its own kind of beauty. The woman stepped outside. It was the first time she had walked freely. Since arriving, she looked at the sky and then at Tom. "My name is Lyra," she said softly. Tom turned to her, surprised. "Lyra," he repeated. "That's a good name. You freed me," she said. "Why?" Tom looked at the ground for a moment. Then he spoke, "Because no one should live in chains, not even our enemies." Lyra looked at him with curious eyes. "You fought in the war. You killed my people." "Yes," Tom said, "and your people killed mine. But the war is over now. I don't hate you." "Most do," Lyra said. Tom nodded. "I know. That's why I didn't want you as a reward. You're not a prize. You're a person." Lyra looked away, her face still calm, but thoughtful. "You are different." "I hope so," Tom said. Over the next few days, Lyra began to move around the house more. She watched how Tom lived. She saw that he didn't own much. He lived a simple life. He worked with machines, grew food, and read books. He didn't talk much, but when he did, his words were honest. She started helping with small things. She washed plates, cleaned the floor, and helped carry tools. Tom didn't ask her to do any of it, but she did it anyway. Slowly, a quiet bond began to grow between them. One morning, Tom found her in the garden. She was touching the soil with her fingers, testing its feel. "This soil is weak," Lyra said. "It needs minerals." Tom smiled. "You know farming." "I was trained in many things," she said. "On my world, we grow plants in crystal beds under the ice." Tom looked interested. "Can you teach me?" Lyra nodded. They began working together. Lyra showed him how to mix certain rocks with water to make the soil stronger. She used old metal parts from the broken machines to build a small growing dome. Tom was amazed. She knew more than any of the farm workers he had ever met. One evening, they sat together near the dome. Inside, the first small green plant pushed out of the soil. It was the first sign of life they had created together. "This is new," Lyra said. "Yes." Tom replied, "It is." She looked at him. "Where are the others, your people?" Tom looked toward the hills. "Most live in the colony's center. I stay out here. It's quieter. They do not come to visit." "No," Tom said. "They think I'm strange for living alone, and maybe for freeing you." Lyra tilted her head. "Are you afraid they will come?" Tom shook his head. "Let them. I won't let anyone hurt you." Lyra's eyes softened for a moment. She didn't speak, but the silence was peaceful. From that day, they spent more time together. Tom showed her how he fixed machines. Lyra showed him how to purify water using energy stones from her ship. They laughed when things failed and smiled when things worked out. At night, Lyra sometimes shared stories about her planet, about the great towers made of glass, the blue rivers that sang as they moved, and the skies that changed color with time. Tom listened closely, painting each image. In his mind, he shared stories too, about his childhood on Mars, the games he played with his brother, and the first time he saw Earth on a screen. One night, Lyra looked up at the stars and asked, "Do you think peace can last?" Tom thought for a while. "Only if people choose it." "Every day," Lyra nodded. "Then I will choose it too." From that moment, something changed between them. Not just respect, not just friendship, but something deeper, something gentle and strong. Lyra now walked freely across the small farm. Her steps were calm and sure. The red hills of Mars no longer looked like a prison to her. She had begun to see the beauty in the stillness. the way the wind moved across the dust, and how the stars appeared early in the sky. Tom watched her from the side as she checked the growing dome. Tiny green leaves had started to rise from the soil. They had built this small farm together, using both human tools and alien knowledge. Lyra had taught him how to use energy crystals to keep the soil warm during cold Martian nights. Tom had shown her how to fix broken pipes using scrap metal and magnets. They were learning from each other every day. One evening, Tom sat by the fire in the workshop, cleaning a broken water pump. Lyra came in and handed him a warm drink. It was made from roots they had boiled earlier. The taste was bitter but full of life. "You fixed the pipe near the dome," Tom said. Lyra nodded. "It was easy. The metal was too weak. I changed it with the stronger one you found last week." Tom smiled. "You're good at this. I was trained for survival," Lyra replied. "But I never used those skills to grow food, only to repair ships. Now you're growing life." Tom said, "That's more powerful than any weapon." Lyra looked at the fire. "Your people destroy, then build. My people only protect what we already have. We never tried to grow something on another world." Tom thought about that. Maybe we are meant to do it together. She glanced at him but said nothing. Days passed, and their daily life became a quiet rhythm. They woke early, worked on the farm, shared meals, and rested under the stars. Sometimes they talked about the war. Sometimes they didn't speak at all. But the silence between them was no longer heavy. It was full of quiet understanding. Tom taught Lyra how to use the old radio. Even though it barely worked, they tried to reach other farms, but the signal was weak still. They kept trying. It became their small game, laughing every time static filled the room. One afternoon, as they sat under the shade of the dome, Lyra looked serious. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. Tom paused. "I've never been there. I was born on Mars. I've seen pictures, stories, blue skies, oceans, forests, but no, I don't miss it. This is my home. My home was full of light." Lyra said, "Our sky had 3 moons. When they came together, the whole sky turned silver. We call it the time of harmony. It only came once. Every 10 years. It sounds beautiful," Tom said. "It was," she replied. "I wanted to take my brother to see it again. He was too young last time." Tom became quiet. "Is he still alive?" Lyra looked down. "I don't know. We were on different ships during the last days of the war. I lost contact. I hope he's safe," Tom said softly. "Thank you," Lyra replied. That night, Tom sat on the roof, fixing a broken light. Lyra climbed up and sat beside him. "You could leave," Tom said after a long silence. "You don't have to stay here." "I know," she said. "So why do you stay?" Lyra looked out over the hills. "Because this place gives me peace. Because I trust you. And because the stars are the same in every sky. But they feel warmer here." Tom smiled, then looked away. A gentle breeze passed across the rooftop. Lyra continued. "My people were told that humans were violent and selfish. That you destroy everything you touch. But you gave me freedom. You gave me space to breathe. That is not weakness. That is strength." Tom didn't know what to say, so he just nodded. In the following days, they built a wind fence around the farm. It kept the dust storms from ruining the plants. They also repaired an old solar collector to power the water system. Slowly, the land began to change. Green leaves moved with the wind, and small flowers bloomed where only red dust had lived before. Then, one morning, a sound came from the radio. A voice, weak and broken, but real. "This is Patrol 9 calling. Mars Colony Outpost. Do you copy?" Tom froze. Lyra stood near the table, eyes wide. He grabbed the mic. "This is Tom, Farm Sector E7. We hear you. Who is this?" The radio crackled. "We're doing routine checks. All farms must report in person to the colony center next cycle." Tom looked at Lyra. "It might be nothing," he said. "But if they see you here, it could be trouble." "I am not hiding," Lyra said calmly. "I know," Tom said. "But they might not see it that way." She stepped closer. "Then we face it together. Tom nodded. He looked into her eyes and saw no fear. Their lives had become more than survival. They had found trust. They had found peace. And maybe they had found something even stronger than that. The message from the colony center changed everything. For weeks, Tom and Lyra had lived in peace. They had planted crops, fixed machines, and learned to trust one another. But now, a voice from the outside world had returned, a voice full of rules and orders, a voice that did not understand what had grown between them. The next morning, Tom packed his small vehicle with supplies. The colony center was 2 hours away by road. Lyra stood beside the garden, watching him. "I should go alone," Tom said. "They won't ask many questions if I go by myself." Lyra shook her head. "I'm not afraid of them. I don't want to hide." "I know," Tom said, "but they might not see you the way I do. They still think Tharari are enemies." Lyra looked down at the soil. Small green plants moved gently in the wind. Life was growing here. Real life, something worth protecting. "Then speak the truth," she said. "Tell them I'm free. Tell them I chose to stay." Tom nodded. "I will." He drove away as the sun rose over the hills. The road was dry and full of dust. On the way, Tom passed a few other farms. Some looked empty. Others had smoke rising from chimneys. Most people lived closer to the colony's center. Tom liked his quiet life, but now it felt far from safe. At the gate, soldiers stopped him. They wore armor and held weapons, even though the war was over. "Name?" one of them asked Tom. "Sector E7, he replied. "Reason for visit?" Responding to the radio call, they let him through. Inside, the colony center was busy. People moved in and out of buildings. Screens showed news from Earth and other colonies. Tom waited in a small office until a man in a dark uniform came in. "Tom." "The farmer," the officer said. "We've heard your name before. You received special rewards after the war, including one of them." Tom kept his voice calm. "Her name is Lyra. She is not a reward. She's a person. I removed her collar and gave her freedom." The officer raised an eyebrow. "That's not how things are done. The Rari captives were given under military law. You had no right to release her. She was never mine to keep," Tom said. "That may be your opinion," the officer said, "but others in power will not see it that way." Tom stood up. "If you want to talk to her, come to the farm. But you will speak to her with respect. I won't let anyone harm her. You're close to her. She saved my life as much as I saved hers." The officer paused. "You may leave, for now, but we will visit your farm soon." Tom left the office with a tight feeling in his chest. The words had been clear. They were watching. They didn't like what he had done. When he returned home, Lyra was waiting near the fence. Her eyes searched his face. "They're coming," Tom said. "Soon." Lyra nodded. "Then we get ready." The next day, they worked harder than usual. Tom fixed the old gate and set up cameras around the edge of the land. Lyra checked the solar panels and made sure the water system was working. They weren't preparing for war. They were preparing to stand strong in front of it later. As the sun set, they sat by the fire. "I used to think humans were all the same," Lyra said, loud, angry, always ready to fight. "But you are not like that." "I used to think the same about your people," Tom said. "I was told you had no feelings, that you only cared about winning. But you care more than anyone I've met." Lyra looked into the fire. "Do you think they'll try to take me?" Tom looked at her. "They might, and if they do, I won't let them." Lyra nodded slowly. "Then I'm not afraid." The following morning, a black vehicle arrived at the edge of the farm. 4 people stepped out. 2 wore military clothes. 1 held a scanner. The last was a tall woman in a gray coat. Tom and Lyra walked to the gate together. The woman spoke. "First, I'm Agent Mora. We're here to check reports regarding a Tharari captive living freely." "She's not a captive," Tom said. "She was freed. She chose to stay." Agent Mora looked at Lyra. "Is that true?" Lyra stood tall. "Yes, I was captured during the war. But Tom gave me freedom. I live here by my own will." The agent tapped on her tablet. "Even so, There are laws that require former captives to be registered and monitored. I'm not a weapon, Lyra said. I'm not a tool. I'm a person. Tom stepped closer. If you try to take her, you'll have to go through me. The soldiers looked at each other. Agent Moore raised a hand. No one is taking anyone today, but this situation is under review. If you do not follow orders, the colony may take action. We understand, Tom said. The group turned and left. The black vehicle rolled away, leaving dust behind. Tom and Lyra stood in silence. They're not done, Tom said. I know, Lyra replied. But neither of them felt fear. They had chosen this life, together, and no threat could take that away. 2 days passed after the visit from the colony agents. Tom and Lyra tried to return to normal life. But the feeling of danger never left. Every sound outside made them pause. Every shadow near the hills felt like a threat. But still, they continued. Their work, the plants needed care, and the machines needed repair. Lyra remained calm. She worked in the dome and made sure the crops stayed healthy. Tom watched her sometimes and felt proud. Not proud of himself, but proud of the life they had built together. One morning, while Tom was checking the water lines, a message came through. The old radio. It was short but clear. Order received. Patrol moving to Farm Sector E7. Objective, retrieve subject. Use force if needed. Tom dropped his tools. He ran to the house. They're coming, he said. Lyra stood still for a moment. Then she nodded. We should not stay here. There's a safe area behind the hills, Tom said. An old cave. No one knows about it. They packed quickly. Food, water, tools, a few clothes. And some energy cells? Lyra grabbed the small crystal she always kept near the window. It was the last piece from her ship. They left before sunrise. The vehicle moved fast over the dirt road. Behind them, smoke began to rise near the main colony. It was not a storm. It was a signal. The patrol had arrived out by midday. Tom and Lyra reached the hills. They left the vehicle and climbed on foot. The cave was hidden behind tall rocks. Long ago, miners had used it to search for rare metals. Now, it would be their shelter. Inside. It was cool and dark. Tom lit a small lamp. Lyra placed a sensor near the entrance. It would warn them if anyone got close. We'll stay here until it's safe, Tom said. Lyra looked around. This place is quiet, like my home used to be. They rested that night under the rocks. Tom lay awake, thinking about the patrol. He knew the colony would not stop until they had what they wanted. They feared what they didn't understand. They feared Lyra, not because of anything she had done, but because she was different. The next day, Tom and Lyra built a small wall near the entrance of the cave. They used stones and metal parts to block the view from the outside. Lyra also set up a light system using solar panels. The cave started to feel like a home. While they worked, they heard a sound in the distance. A loud hum, growing closer. Drone, Lyra said. They both crouched near the rocks. A small flying machine passed overhead. It scanned the land, then flew back toward the colony. They know we left, Tom said. They'll send soldiers next. We should prepare, Lyra replied. Tom took out an old weapon he had kept from the war. It still worked, but it was slow. Lyra checked the small energy gun hidden in her bag. They didn't want to fight, but they would defend their freedom if they had to. That night, the stars above were bright. Lyra looked at them from the cave opening. In my world, we believe stars are the memories of our ancestors, she said. They guide us when we are lost. Tom sat beside her. Then maybe they're watching over us now. I hope so, she said. Before dawn, the sensor beeped. Someone was coming. Tom and Lyra moved into position. They stayed low and quiet. Soon, voices could be heard. This is the place. Heat signals inside. We don't see them. Maybe the cave goes deeper. Tom whispered. 3 soldiers. Maybe 4. We can't fight them all, Lyra said. We won't, not unless we must. A loud voice came from outside. Tom of Sector E7. We know you are inside. Come out and hand over the Ferrari. You have 1 minute. Tom looked at Lyra. We stand together." She nodded. But before they could act, something unexpected happened. A voice came from the rocks above. It was another human voice. "You don't speak for all of us." Several people appeared near the cave. Farmers, engineers, even a teacher from the colony school. They stood with tools, sticks, and simple weapons. "We've heard what you're doing," one man said. "And we say no." The soldiers looked shocked. "This is not your business," the patrol leader shouted. "It is now," said a woman. "Tom helped build our water system. Lyra taught my son how to grow food in bad soil. They are part of us." The patrol leader hesitated. His orders were clear. But now the people were not afraid. Tom stepped forward. "You wanted to know why I freed her, why I protected her. This is the reason. Because peace is stronger than fear. Because freedom is not something given, it's something lived." The soldiers stood still. Then one of them lowered his weapon. Another followed. The leader looked around and saw no support. "We'll report this," he said. "Go ahead." The crowd replied. The patrol turned and left. Tom looked at Lyra. She smiled for the first time in days. "You were right," she said. "Some humans do choose peace, and some Tharari too," Tom replied. They walked back into the cave together. Behind them, the people stayed, guarding the path. That night, fires burned not for war, but for warmth. Voices rose in song and laughter. The world had changed, and it began with one man's choice to free a captive. The small group of farmers and workers who had stood with Tom and Lyra in the hills had changed everything. News spread fast through the colony and even reached other settlements on Mars. People began to ask questions. They wanted to know why Tom had freed Lyra and why others had helped protect her. Some leaders in the colony were angry. They called Tom a troublemaker. They said he was breaking laws and risking everyone's safety. But many others felt something new. Hope. Back at the cave, Tom and Lyra worked with their new friends to build a safer, stronger home. The small cave was too dark and cramped for so many people. So they started to build. Using stones, metal, scraps, and energy crystals, they created simple walls and roofs. They dug a well nearby and planted seeds from the farms. Lyra taught the group how to care for the soil, using her knowledge from her homeworld. She showed them how to use crystals to keep the ground warm during cold nights. The plants grew faster and stronger. The small garden became green and full of life. One evening, as the group gathered around a fire, an older man named Saul spoke. "We have lived under fear for too long," he said. "We were told to hate the Tharari, but I have seen their kindness. Tom and Lyra have shown us another way." Others nodded. A woman smiled. "It is time to build, not fight." Tom listened quietly. He was not a leader, but people looked to him for strength. He looked at Lyra. She was tired but smiling. They had begun to build more than a home. They had built a family. But trouble was not far away. The colony leaders sent more patrols. They tried to stop the new settlement. They cut power lines and blocked roads. They sent messages warning people not to join Tom and Lyra. Yet, the small community grew. People wanted peace. They wanted to live without fear. Some were humans, and some were Tharari who had escaped during the war or had come to Mars for a new life. Tom and Lyra became a symbol of hope for many. They held meetings, sharing stories and plans. They talked about building schools, farms, and homes where everyone was free. One day, a patrol came again. This time, Tom and Lyra met them outside the settlement. "We will not fight you," Tom said, "but we will protect this home." The patrol leader looked around and saw many people standing behind Tom and Lyra. There were men, women, and children. Some were Tharari with shining eyes. Some were humans with strong faces. The patrol leader lowered his weapon. "I will report this, but be warned. The colony will not forget." Tom nodded. "Neither will we." As the patrol left, a young girl ran to Tom and Lyra. She held a small flower in her hand. "This is for you," she said. Lyra smiled and took the flower. "Thank you." Tom looked at the flower and felt hope. The new home was not perfect. They had little food and simple tools, but it was theirs. It was free. At night, Tom and Lyra sat outside, watching the stars. Do you think we can build a better world? Tom asked. Lyra looked at him. We already have. The stars shone above them, 2 worlds. Once at war, we're learning to live together, and in the heart of Mars, a new family grew, strong and free. Years passed since Tom freed Lyra and chose to protect her. The small settlement in the Martian hills had grown. Simple homes stood beside green gardens. Children ran and played under the watchful eyes of humans and Therari alike. The air was filled with laughter, not fear. Tom and Lyra had changed too. They had learned each other's languages better, shared stories from their past, and built a life together. Their bond was strong. It was built on respect, trust, and kindness. One morning, Tom walked outside his home. The sun rose slowly, painting the red hills with soft orange light. Lyra was waiting near the garden, her eyes shining bright. Round them, plants blossomed in rich colors. The soil had turned from red dust to fertile ground. Tom held a small box in his hand. It was simple, but made from wood he had carved himself. Inside was a small ring, made of metal and crystal. He took Lyra's hand gently. Lyra, you have been my friend, my partner, and my light in the dark. I did not free you to own you. I freed you because I believe in freedom. Today, I ask you to choose a new path with me. Lyra looked into his eyes, feeling warmth and hope. She smiled and nodded. Yes, she said softly, I choose you. Tom opened the box and slid the ring onto her finger. It shone in the sunlight. Around them, people had gathered quietly. They watched with smiles and tears. Tom and Lyra's promise was more than just between 2 people. It was a symbol of hope for the whole settlement. After the small ceremony, Tom and Lyra walked hand in hand through their home. The air smelled sweet with flowers. Children waved and called their names. The sounds of machines fixing pipes mixed with birdsong from the new trees. Lyra stopped near a crystal garden she had created. Do you remember when we first planted these seeds? She asked. Tom laughed. I thought nothing would grow in this dusty land. But we learned together, Lyra said. Humans and Therari. We made life where there was none. Tom nodded. We made peace where there was war. Their story traveled beyond the hills. More settlements began to join their vision. Humans and Therari built schools, farms, and homes together. They shared ideas and helped one another. The old fears faded, like shadows in the morning sun. One evening, as Tom and Lyra sat beneath the stars, Lyra spoke softly. I never thought freedom could feel like this. Tom smiled. Freedom is not just about being free from chains. It is about choosing love, respect, and hope every day. Lyra leaned her head on Tom's shoulder. Then we will choose it, always. The stars above shone brighter that night. 2 worlds, once torn by war, were now united by choice and promise. And so, Tom and Lyra's story became more than a tale of war and captivity. It became a story of courage, freedom, and the power of a single choice.